looking at a character, yes, how do I play this character, but also like where does like Josephine actually like appear within
Mm,
this person?
mm-hmm.
Because it is very obvious when you're pushing something that maybe you are not relating to or necessarily like in with, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? There has to be some level of like vulnerability and some level of transference between the two.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast hosted by me, Chris. And welcome, everybody, to episode number 546 of the podcast. I hope everyone's doing well. We're in the 11th year. Last episode marked the beginning of the 11th year. And again, Winter Sounds, Bad Dream. That's the new theme song. I love it. And I hope you do, and I hope you check them out. Because, yeah, I love it. And I hope everyone's doing great, and super appreciate everybody here, everybody listening. 11 years. It flew by very quickly. But speaking of episodes, horrible segue, but I have to talk about my guest for today. My guest is a wonderful actress who is currently be seeing in the movie Space Cadet with Emma Roberts. Josephine Huang is on the podcast, and just such a phenomenal chat, wonderful person. Just like I always say this. I don't always say this. I'm saying this for the first time on this podcast, but a ray of pure Santiago sunshine. So much fun chatting with Josephine, but I have to stop this. I have to stop this madness because we have to get into the episode. All right. So everybody sit back, relax, and also check out Space Cadet. I don't think I said it was available on Amazon Prime, but it is. Anyway, I'm done talking. Everybody sit back, relax, and Josephine, take it away. I feel like there needs to be that one brave person whenever people jump into the Zoom that just needs to say hello. Otherwise, we're going to sit in silence because, I guess that's etiquette. I don't know.
Yeah. Zoom. Someone just needs to do like I'm sure someone has a YouTube class on like Zoom etiquette.
Yes, yes. And it's taught by a former Skyper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Skype.
For the beginning of this podcast, I use Skype so much, and
I'm sure
it was wonderful. And then the pandemic happened, and I used Zoom for work stuff, so I was familiar with it. But when it took off, I was just like, Zoom, the work program. People are what?
Right. Listen, I wish I had thought to buy stock in Zoom at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right? Yeah, I would have traded
my birthday party on Zoom.
Yeah. Zoom, obviously the past couple of years were what they were.
Yeah.
For some people, like I just use it because it's easier. But for some people, I've heard that it's triggering, and then I feel bad.
That's fair. That is understandable.
Yeah.
I think if I was like stuck, like if I was working like a desk job and was constantly on like Zoom every day, all day, I probably would be triggered.
Yeah, well, whatever. But how are you doing? Hi.
I'm doing good.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so happy to chat with you, and we're in that interest, personally. We're in that interesting time that you're around the podcast birthday, which is my favorite time of the year because it just signifies that I've been doing this too long. This is the you're in the 11th year of this podcast.
Dude, that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. I feel old, but thank you. No, I don't feel old, but it's I'm always excited just to see new faces, new people, and get to have new conversations, because that's kind of my goal.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, and so it's a loose show where we can talk about
Okay.
anything at all. But
Okay.
I'm always curious. I like to go back into origins. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. When
Yeah.
did you get bit by that acting bug?
Well, I'm an only child,
Mm,
uh, the extroverted kind.
yes. Yes.
Um, so as an only child, I think like I always as a kid loved like making up scenarios and
Mm,
like play acting them out with like my dolls and my stuffed animals and all the things like that just because I didn't have any siblings to like really do that kind of stuff with.
yeah.
But on the other hand, or on the other side of that, I was also like extremely shy, like socially and at school. I
Mm,
was not the person that like wanted to speak up and raise my hand.
yeah.
I like did not like public speaking in front of people. So
Hmm.
it's kind of funny that those like two things like feel pretty opposite.
Yes.
Um, but I think it was in elementary school, fourth and fifth graders, we always had music class. And our music teacher at the time, when I think of it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, she was like probably 20 something, but she used to write her own original like musicals
Oh,
for the fourth and fifth graders to perform every year.
okay.
Which I think of it now as an adult, I'm like, she could have just like gone on like the music library and picked like, the kids' version of Annie and
Right.
we could have
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
that.
Annie
But she like
Jr.
wrote, yeah, right? But she wrote her own. I wish I remembered her name now, but so she wrote one, and as a fourth grader, we all had to do it. And
Hmm.
a fifth grader got sick with like mono or something. So
Oh.
she was like, okay, everyone gets to audition for this like lead role.
Hmm.
And I was so shy, but I was like, I want to play like this jazz cat named Claudette. She
Yeah.
sounds so cool. And I remember I like went up to her and I was like, I know like only the fifth graders are really allowed to audition for leads, but do you think I could maybe like read you the Claudette lines?
Yeah.
And I remember her looking at me and like she knew how shy I was, so I think she was probably shocked that I was even asking this. And I could tell she felt so bad, but she was like, I'm so sorry. But like only
Mm.
the fifth graders are allowed, but the fourth graders are in the chorus, and
Hmm.
I'll give you a line.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All
And
right.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. Listen, Chris, like we
Yeah.
had three performances. The time came for me to say my line, and I
Yes.
got the worst stage fright in the world, and I
Oh.
didn't say it.
Oh
I
no.
like melted into the back of like the crowd of like 12 kids and like didn't say it, and everyone like stopped
Hmm.
and looked at me, and then they just skipped to the next line.
Mm.
So that was my first stage experience.
So do you still remember that line?
It was something, it was even now, or it was something like, oh, I get it now. Now I'm feeling the blues because
Oh.
all the dogs were the blues and the
Hmm.
cats were jazz. And it was like a
Whoa.
West Side Story with cats and dogs and their different kinds of music.
Whoa.
Um,
Okay. All right.
so like I knew that's like I really like doing that, but I just never thought like I would do it because I did not have any examples of people that looked like me
Hmm.
making a career out of doing like acting or being on stage or doing anything
Right.
like that. And I'm like the child of like two immigrants who are like, acting?
Yeah.
No, no, no.
No, like a proper,
Yeah, why don't we
quote
do
unquote
something
proper,
practical?
yeah, proper
Yeah,
career.
something practical. We moved to this country so you could be a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah. Did you feel that guilt when you said, no, I'm going to continue this acting or I'm going to pursue this acting?
I guess they didn't put any
Oh, okay.
like as much pressure on me, I think, as like I know some of my other like Asian American friends
Mm.
have felt. I think in large part in that my dad was born in Taiwan,
Hmm.
but he actually grew up in Brazil, in Rio.
Okay.
So his like way of approaching raising me was a little bit different, a little freer. I think him personally, he didn't really get a lot of choice as to like what he wanted to do
Hmm.
with his time or his career, things like that, because he had just had a lot of responsibilities
Hmm.
towards his family and immigrating to the US, and they had to make money in a certain way. It was more about taking care of the day to day than like pursuing your passions or
Right.
all the things that millennials grow up thinking and getting to do.
You mean
So
he didn't have the option to be an influencer? What?
what? I know. What?
What?
Oh my God, he hated taking photos. He would never. But so I think I was like lucky in that way that like even though I mean I was pretty good at school and stuff, I didn't
Mm.
decide to like study theater until I went to college, and even then I was like I'll be a double major. But I think we realized like that this was kind of what I wanted to do. I think they always thought, okay, we'll let her do this in New York for 5 years and then she'll go to business school and it'll be great. Um,
Yeah.
but they were supportive in their own way.
Oh, I mean that's always wonderful. Your dad and my dad, I feel like they're a little similar. My
Yeah,
dad, I mean, he immigrated from Mexico, so
yeah,
he was the firstborn, the always working, studying
hmm,
hard, all that. So when it
yeah,
came time to my sister and I, it was very
yeah,
much like you're gonna have fun. You're gonna
hmm,
pursue what you want to do,
right,
and and we're your mother and I are going to support you. Mom and I. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, mom. She hates mother. So yeah, yeah, and you know, now that I'm older, I'm like, that's such a. I wish I appreciated that more when I was younger.
Yeah, but we don't appreciate anything when we're younger.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? It
Uh,
takes like 20 years and living outside the house and adulting and having bills and insurance and all of that to be like, oh, okay.
let me tell you, I'm glad you mentioned adulting because I'm trying to keep this lawn alive and
Oh
green,
my
and
gosh.
I am just fed up with it. I'm just like,
Do you have like the sprinklers, that
no,
like the time sprinklers and all of that
me,
stuff?
I'm the sprinkler. No,
You're the sprinkler.
yeah, it's just it's a new thing, which I'm again very appreciative of, but I'm just
Hmm.
like, I gotta do this how many times a week?
And
What?
I gotta mow this.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, there's weeds and they're
Oh,
attacking this thing that I'm trying to keep alive.
oh.
Yeah.
And again, this is not a humble brag or anything, but it's just,
No.
I'm in a portion of life where I need to recalibrate the brain into something else. So, uh, but so hearing that you grew up, I feel like we grew up very similar because
Yeah,
I feel like you had an imagination playing with toys. I feel like I
totally.
had an animation playing with my toys. Very
Yeah.
introvert. Uh,
Hmm.
are you still that way?
I would say like as an adult, I'm much more extroverted.
Mm,
I think once I like found a group of people that I was comfortable with, and like by the time I was in middle school and high school, I had like my tight knit group of friends. We were all like kind of like artsy ones at our school. We didn't play sports. We didn't like
mm,
do cheerleading or anything like that. We were all in like chorus and band, and then like in high school we were all in theater. So I kind of like found my people.
mm,
Um, and I feel kind of like the same way now as like an adult. I'm the extroverted one. I
yeah.
like being around people. I'm like the social chair of our friend group. I'm the Capricorn. I organize all the social events. If we haven't seen each other in a while, I'm like, okay, we're doing a dinner. We're gonna go see a movie together. What are we doing this weekend?
You're
Actually tomorrow, my friend's space cadet came out last week, and a lot of my
yeah.
friends were like, we have to celebrate this win, Joe. We haven't all seen each other like all summer. Everyone's been traveling and adulting because this is the age we're at now. People
Yeah.
have babies and jobs and dogs and all those things.
Oh yeah.
So we're having a potluck tomorrow. I'm having a space supper where everyone's bringing the dish that they most would want to bring with them to space.
Oh wow.
So I
Okay.
love like we love like things like that, just like silly themes and reasons to dress up in costumes and bring food and all of that.
Yeah, I mean that just sounds like fun though. And look,
Yeah.
no shade on anybody, but if somebody brings in like the space food, or the MREs, like stuff like
Listen,
that, I'm just like
yeah.
get the stink eye. Like no, no, okay, we get it's
Listen, we have
practical, but whatever.
right? But no. Well, I found out that, like space ice cream, like that
Yes,
freeze-dried ice cream that all of us were obsessed with as kids.
yeah,
They don't have that in space. Like
that
they don't eat that in space. That's not really a thing. They fooled us with that marketing
that is
campaign.
such a letdown.
I know that stuff was really good.
Yes, I got that was again. You mentioned it as a kid going to like some science museum.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
that
yes.
was the cherry on top. Getting that weirdo
Mm-hmm.
freeze dried space
Yeah.
food.
Yes. Oh, loved it.
I think I need to talk to my therapist about this. Just
Am I bringing up some memories?
I'm not going to be the same person ever again, but that's okay. That's
No.
fine. Um, but it's and so when did you're pursuing acting, and you said you did five
Yeah.
years in New York,
5 year
or like
acting like as an adult
yeah
or
yeah when you were like
uh
when did you say, oh, I can do this as a profession for my career?
mm, I think it was I think like senior year of high school or
Mm,
junior year, whatever it is, like you start like applying for college programs and
hmm.
stuff like that. And everyone like kind of knew what they wanted to do. And I was like looking at all these like different majors I could do, and nothing really jumped out at me as something that I was actually like thought like, oh, I want to do that every day for the rest of my life.
Right,
And
right.
like maybe that's not what people, use as their parameters on like what they're going to study. Um, but for me at least, I was like, I think like I want to do that.
Yeah.
And like and in high school I wasn't like I was like the lead of every like musical. I
Mhm.
think I was definitely not in like the group of favorites that like our drama teacher cast and everything. So anybody looking for the outside is probably like, are you insane? You're gonna what? Study acting?
And then they're just like, "Ha,
Um,
okay, have fun."
yeah, exactly.
Mm,
So I went to University of Florida, and I wasn't I was like a general undecided major when I
mm,
first went there. Um, but there was a Florida Players is like their student theater program, student theater group basically that put on a lot of productions, and a lot of my friends were also in that group. So I think it was like after like freshman year and doing a lot of student shows, and I auditioned for like a department show and got cast in a department show as a non-major, which was
mm.
like a big deal. What? You're not in this department, but you got one of the roles. Um,
And you're just
so
like,
I think like
okay.
I'm like I'm just here. So I think after that show I was like, oh, like this is something that like tickles my brain. Like this is fun.
Yeah.
This is I could do this. And yeah, so there I went.
Yeah, no, I think that's super cool. Again, I went through the similar situation where, like, even when
Hmm.
I was a little kid, I said, I'm going to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to
Yeah.
do. Noble profession.
Yeah.
And then got into, I did community college because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
I took a history class because I love history. And I said, this is not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was not going to class and just watching movies because I movies
Right.
was the thing, and then it just
Yeah.
hit me. You should go to film school because that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm glad that you were able to figure it out earlier and just kind of follow your path. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't,
Hmm.
like a lot of people kind of follow what they should be doing as
Right.
opposed to what they want to be doing. Um, and I'm glad that even though, the path is not linear at all in this industry.
Yeah.
And some days I like wake up and look at my bank account and I'm like, oh God, I should have just like gone to law school.
The lawyer's looking
But
pretty good.
yeah, right.
Lawyers
My
do a
dad was
lot
like,
of
you could go to
acting.
law school. They
Yeah,
act. Dude, that's exactly
yeah.
what my dad said. He's like, you could go to law school. Lawyers act in the courtroom.
Oh,
I was like, okay, dad.
sure,
But yeah,
Dad.
but do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I am glad that I did like have that wherewithal like when I was like 19 and be like, okay, I'm gonna try this.
yeah. And so kind of uh, not bringing it around, but
Yeah.
I'm very curious about character and
Hmm.
character work.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, and again, I know I've brought up the whole, you are very much introvert. Where do
Hmm.
you feel that your acting comes through? Like where do you feel like, ooh, I'm harnessing a part of yourself? Like what is that part?
Yeah. I I mean, I think like all my current like acting coach and also my acting coach before that,
Hmm.
one of the things that we're always like practicing is, which I think is very different than what academic theater kind
Hmm.
of teaches you,
Hmm.
is that every character has to kind of be a version of yourself,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like TV film, at a certain level. Uh, you're looking at a character, yes, how do I play this character, but also like where does like Josephine actually like appear within
Hmm.
this person?
Hmm.
Because it is very obvious when you're pushing something that maybe you are not relating to or uh, necessarily like in with, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
right? There has to be some level of like vulnerability and some level of transference between the two.
Right.
Um, and I think it's interesting because I think everyone peaks or finds themselves at different points in their life. And I think
Mm.
it took me like until I was probably in like my mid to late 20s to be like, oh, who's Joe? Like, what
Yeah.
makes me me, but like unapologetically me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I think I can be pretty blunt. I can be pretty sarcastic. I like I have like a slightly dark, sometimes morbid sense of humor,
Mm.
which all makes sense because that is very Miriam, which is the character I play as Space Cadet.
Yeah.
She is a little bit of like a morbid little introvert. Uh, so I think I definitely like try to approach all the characters I play with a sense of humor,
Yeah.
with a little bit of quirk, and just try to look at the world a little differently.
And it's always funny how I feel like when it comes, and you can tell me I'm not an actor, so you can tell me if I'm wrong. But I
Yeah,
just feel like when it comes to acting, it's just like
yeah,
life experience,
yeah,
and
yeah,
even if you're a non-actor, nobody teaches you how to like be you. Like, who is you
yeah.
as an
Who's you?
individual? Yeah,
Exactly.
and of course with actors, I feel like it's, I don't want to say easier, but obviously you're doing more exploring of yourself. So it's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
that.
I think it goes two ways though, because I think also in this industry, especially as like a young actor, there's
Mm,
so much of like this is the type you are and should
right.
be. This is where you fit into the machine of this industry.
Hmm.
And especially I came from like an academic theater background where it was very much like this is your type.
Mm,
This is like all the scenes you're doing and da 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 are like towards your type. Um, so I think for me at least it almost like made it harder to kind of figure out who I was as opposed to who I was like trying to portray myself to be to get ahead in my career, if that
hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, every any other industry too, right? It's like what is like the face that you are presenting to the world to get by comfortably as opposed to being like very honest about who you actually are on the inside and being okay with uh showing that without being too influenced by like what people think of you.
Right. Right. Which, I feel like, again, uh, I might be, speaking out of line or whatever, but I just feel
Mhm.
like to do that, it was much easier to do
Yeah.
like when our parents were growing up, just
Hmm.
because there wasn't the
Hmm.
internet. Essentially, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So true.
The influence is strong these days. So yeah, I
It's like
get.
this is what I look like when I wake up, I swear.
Yes.
No.
And so, when you're getting into a character's headspace, do you,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, whether it's Miriam or whoever,
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
call cut. All right, we're done for the day.
Hmm.
Let's go. I don't know, go
Yeah.
home. Do you ever need that moment to just kind of decompress and become like you, or is it just like cut? All right, hey, who's partying? Where we going tonight?
Oh, Keely. Sorry, my dog.
No, it's okay.
Um, Keely. She hears a knock. Someone's coming.
Yes,
For
yes.
me, I think everybody is different. I
Hmm.
think for me, I've I've definitely trained like the on-off switch for myself.
Mm.
Like when we're on, I'm like in, and when we're off, I like definitely just break and just go back to like being like joking around with my castmates and like chilling. But when the camera's on and they yell action, like we're on.
Yeah.
So for me, at least, it feels more natural to just like drop right out.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I feel like
Yeah.
that's uh I to me, I'm just thinking about like bloopers and stuff like from The Office where
Hmm. Hmm.
Rainn Wilson's like, I'm not
Oh
Dwight
my gosh.
yet. Can you reopen the
Yeah.
door? Or it's just like, can we do that again? I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
So, but I just think that's so. I'm fascinated with people like you can just turn it on and off.
Yeah.
But also like good because it's just like you said it earlier, you know who you
Hmm.
are, so I feel like that's
Yeah.
just like an extra layer of confidence.
Yeah. I mean, and I've also worked with actors and like that, like stay in
Mm,
it and
yeah,
much respect
yeah.
because I personally, like emotionally, mentally, like cannot. I just have to like flip it back
Yeah.
and be like, okay, we're in real life now. But yeah, I think everyone just has a preference too.
We're in real life. I'm not in space, okay? I'm not
Yeah,
I don't work
exactly.
I'm not NASA. So, yeah, it's okay. Stop asking me NASA
Do
questions,
not
please.
trust me to fly your ship.
Yeah. Okay, fine, I'll do it. In I saw that you had to go through training for space cadet.
We didn't do any like actual like NASA training, but
Okay.
we did get to the last week of shooting.
Mm,
We actually shot on location in Huntsville, Alabama,
okay.
at the Space Center down there. So that was really cool. Most of like the space scenes and stuff were done on like a sound
Mm,
stage.
hmm.
All of like our floating and stuff was movie magic. But we did as a cast get the opportunity to do one fun like space kind of training
Yeah.
thing,
Oh, oh.
and I was terrified
Oh no.
because I like having my feet on solid ground.
Yeah. That's that's
I'm
kind
not
of
a
fair.
yeah, like I don't love roller coasters. Like my
Yeah.
favorite thrill rides are like Disney thrill rides. There's one short drop. I know when it happens and
Yeah.
like I can like close my eyes and scream for a second. Like that's me. Um, but they put us, there's like a scene, you'll see like clips of it in the film where we're in like a harness and like a circular spherical thing and they're spinning
Yeah.
us around in all the different directions and all this like
Yeah. No.
we it was like the end of a day of shooting when we were in Alabama and they're like, all right, we're doing like a space spin thing and they took us all into the room and when you're on set there's like 30 people staring at you and like a
Right.
camera in your face and they're like, all right, we're gonna do this once and I'm like, I don't want to do this more than once.
Can we do it just half,
And can we
please?
do it just half? But they actually like put us into this like thing. I guess they said they used to use in the past to train astronauts to deal with like anti-gravity for like
Right.
moonwalks and things like that. And the thing just like spins you in all directions. There's no sense of like which way it's gonna go. And the guy straps me and he's like, okay, when you are like, I'm done, I'm out, just yell stop 3 times. Stop, stop, stop. And in my head, I was like, okay, I have to count to like at least 30. And
Yes.
I was like the last one to go. I think like Emma went first.
Mm.
My castmate Andrew was like, yeah, let's go. He's like shouting in character as he's spinning around in the air because he's crazy.
Yeah.
My castmate Desi was like, I'm out. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this. I
Yeah.
can't do that. I'm not gonna do it. And I was just like, okay, okay, I have to do this. Um, that was the longest 30 seconds of my life.
I mean, I major props for I know of this thing. Like I in my head, I'm watching that scene from
Yeah.
Rocket Man with Harlan
Uh-huh.
Williams. I don't know. Just yeah, that gyro thing, and I'm just like
Yeah.
I don't think they would have been able to snap the I don't know seat belt on me because I would have just been like sit okay I'm done stop all right see you later
I
no
just knew if I didn't do it, I would get so much shit from my friends when I went home. They'd
mm.
be like, "You didn't do that. It was so cool." So I sucked
Well you know what
it
they didn't do it either so there
up.
um
It ended up looking awesome though.
nice
Like, so
nice
I'm
good
glad I did it because
good
I'm like, I did that.
and so the last question that I'd like to ask and there's never
Yeah.
a right or wrong answer but it tells me everything I need to know about you, so no pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm very curious. For you,
Yeah.
what makes a good role or character that you want to play?
Hmm. I think what makes a good character? I think I love characters that have a little quirk.
Mm-hmm.
I love characters that I can find something in them that I can relate back to my own experiences, whether that's something lighter, like with Space Cadet, where I'm like, oh, she's like a little like emo and dark and moody, like I was in high school wearing all black. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I can play with this. This is fun. Or if it's like, I also produce and do films and stuff on the side with other friends in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of those films deal with like the Asian American experience or Asian American stories that we want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that always definitely draw me in, just something that I think I haven't seen before, or an aspect of a story that I can relate to that I think would be fun to tell. But I also just like, I love a good script. If I read a
Mm-hmm.
script and all the characters are fleshed out, the story's interesting, if it's something that I know is going to be really fun to make, uh, if the other characters surrounding the one I'm going out for are really interesting, I get really excited just thinking about what that set would be like and what that experience would be like making it. Um, so I think, yeah, just what inspires me.
Yeah, you're the first person to say like a really good, well written script.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
there's
makes
nothing like a well-written
yeah,
script where you read it and you can visualize and see like exactly how like it could be,
yeah,
like because it's
yeah.
just such a clear vision and such a clear voice.
Yes, and then hopefully I won't have to do that space thingy. Uh,
Yeah, they can just like throw me into like an AI and like spin me around, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's the proper use of AI.
We're regulating AI to only do shots of people in that space gyrosphere
Yeah,
thingy.
exactly.
You know what?
Where
I
my body does not physically have to spin out of control.
that I think
I
that
approve.
that's very fair. I think that's very
Let's
fair.
put that line into the contract.
And so for the people at home who
Yeah.
can, keep in touch with you, see what you got
Yeah.
going on, or just be in the know. Where can they do that
Yeah.
online?
I'm definitely pretty active on Instagram. My Instagram is at Josephine. I definitely put updates about like acting stuff, and if you're a fan of food or dogs,
Mm,
there's a lot of that on there too.
yeah, and so you mentioned your dog earlier. What?
Yeah.
And I saw your dog. What breed is your dog?
She's a mini golden doodle. Her
Mm,
name is Keely,
mm,
after the character in Ted Lasso,
mm.
because that was one of our favorite things in the pandemic that just like made us happy.
Oh my gosh!
And she's
Don't
little and spunky like Keely is in that
Aw.
show. So
Don't get me
yeah, we
started
love her.
about Ted Lasso because I love that
Oh
show.
my gosh,
But
love that show.
oh my gosh, my girlfriend and I adopted a beagle and we named her Margot after Margot Robbie. So
Oh,
I don't know if you know her or anybody. It just we need that word to get around because I want to formally have her be a fairy godparent to our dog.
oh my gosh. If That would be so cute. We'll have to like find Margot Robbie and just like pass the dog to her and be like, you just have to take a picture. This is your namesake.
That's it. Yes, yes. And I feel like she would be down, but again, no pressure. Um, but thank you so much for stopping by to chat with me. Anytime
Of
you want to
course,
come
this was
back
so
on,
fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad. But I'll let you go, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, and keep staying safe and
You
healthy.
too,
Okay.
Chris. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.